A cute ship, a giant iceberg, and one terrible decision are about to meet. Very quietly. This is Titanic, the complete 1997 movie explained simply. The whole story and ending are here, so spoilers are already on board. Our story begins in the present, above the real wreck of Titanic. Treasure hunter Brock Lovett searches the broken ship with underwater robots. He is not looking for history, romance, or emotional growth. He wants a famous blue diamond called the heart of the ocean. A robot enters a ruined cabin and finds an old metal safe. Brock opens it like a child opening the greatest birthday present ever. Inside, he finds wet papers and one drawing of a young woman. She is wearing the exact diamond he wants. Brock shows the drawing on television, hoping someone recognizes it. A very old woman watches the broadcast and nearly drops her pottery. Her name is Rose, and she says the woman in the drawing is her. Brock thinks this sounds impossible because Rose should be more than 100. Then Rose describes the diamond, the safe, and details nobody else knows. She flies to Brock's research ship with her granddaughter and many old photographs. There, Rose begins the story she has carried for 84 years. In 1912, the brand new Titanic waits at Southampton, shining like a floating city. It has 4 huge funnels, giant engines, and enough confidence for 5 ships. People proudly call it unsinkable. First-class passengers enter through beautiful halls with servants and mountains of luggage. Third-class passengers enter below, carrying everything they own in small bags. The rich and poor live in different worlds, but the same ocean surrounds them. 17-year-old Rose boards with her mother, Ruth, and her fiancé, Cal Hockley. Rose is clever, curious, and already tired of everyone choosing her future. Ruth is polite on the outside and terrified underneath. Their family name is famous, but their money is almost gone. Cal is rich enough to rescue them, provided Rose becomes his wife. To Ruth, the marriage is survival. To Rose, it feels like a beautiful cage with excellent table service. Across town, a poor artist named Jack Dawson plays poker in a crowded bar. Jack owns a sketchbook, several pencils, and almost nothing else. His best friend Fabrizio dreams about seeing America. 2 men place their Titanic tickets into the final poker game. Jack wins with only minutes before the ship leaves. He and Fabrizio stare at the tickets, scream, and begin running. The gangway is already closing when they reach the harbor. They receive a very fast health check and race aboard at the last second. Jack reaches the bow as Titanic pulls away and celebrates like he owns the Atlantic. Rose enters a first-class suite that looks more like a palace than a room. There are carved walls, silk clothes, fresh flowers, and absolutely no freedom. Cal chooses her schedule, her meals, and even the way she should speak. Ruth watches closely because one angry fiancé could destroy their rescue plan. Cal gives Rose the enormous blue diamond as an engagement present. It is beautiful enough to stop a room. It also feels like a very expensive lock. At dinner, Rose meets shipbuilder Thomas Andrews and company chairman Bruce Ismay. Andrews speaks gently about the ship, while Ismay proudly calls it perfect. Nobody spends much time discussing why this perfect ship has too few lifeboats. Rose smiles, answers politely, and slowly feels the walls moving closer. That night she runs from dinner and reaches the empty rear deck. She climbs over the railing and considers jumping into the dark water. Jack sees her and approaches carefully, without shouting or grabbing. He explains that the ocean is freezing and falling would hurt terribly. Rose tells him to leave, but Jack removes his boots anyway. When Rose tries to climb back, her foot slips. Jack catches her hand and pulls while she hangs above the sea. Crewmen arrive, see Jack on top of Rose, and assume the worst. Cal storms in, ready to have Jack arrested. Rose quickly claims she leaned over to see the propellers and accidentally slipped. Cal accepts the story, then invites Jack to first-class dinner as a reward. He also tells his servant, Lovejoy, to watch this suspicious young artist. The next day, Rose finds Jack and thanks him properly. She looks through his drawings of ordinary people, dancers, workers, and lonely faces. Jack sees people as they are, not as society labels them. Molly Brown, a friendly new money passenger, lends Jack a dinner suit. Jack enters the grand dining room looking uncomfortable but completely fearless. The rich guests ask where he lives, as if poverty might be contagious. Jack says he sleeps wherever life places him and makes each day count. Rose smiles because nobody at that table sounds more alive. Cal does not smile. Before leaving, Jack secretly places a note in Rose's hand. The note invites her to a real party below deck. In third class, people dance, laugh, stomp, sing, and forget every rule upstairs. Jack spins Rose across the floor while Fabrizio cheers. Rose drinks beer, stands on her toes, and surprises everyone. For the first time on the voyage, she is not performing somebody else's life. Lovejoy watches from the stairs and reports everything to Cal. The next morning, Ruth warns Rose that the family depends on her marriage. Without Cal's money, Ruth says they could lose their home and become servants. Rose realizes she is not being treated like a daughter. She is being used like a financial rescue boat. Jack meets Rose on deck and begs her to escape the future chosen for her. Rose is frightened by how clearly he understands. She rejects him and returns to first class. Then she watches a little girl being trained to sit, smile, and fold a napkin perfectly. Rose sees her own future sitting at that table. She finds Jack before sunset. At the bow, he shows her the open ocean and a world with no small cage. Rose stretches out her arms while Jack keeps them safely behind the rail. The sun drops, the wind rises, and Rose finally feels free. Then she turns and kisses him. Back in the present, everyone on Brock's ship has stopped thinking about treasure. Old Rose continues, because the happy part of this story is almost over. Inside her cabin, Rose asks Jack to draw her wearing only the blue diamond. Jack is nervous, but his artist brain eventually remembers how pencils work. Rose poses on a couch, and Jack creates the drawing Brock found decades later. She places the sketch inside Cal's safe with a very direct note. Cal discovers it and becomes furious. Rose and Jack run before Lovejoy can catch them. They race through elevators, corridors, boiler rooms, and the enormous engine spaces. Below deck, workers shovel coal while the couple disappears through the machinery. They hide inside a parked car in the cargo hold and finally admit their love. High above them, two lookouts stare into a dark, unusually calm ocean. An iceberg suddenly appears directly ahead. The warning bell rings, and First Officer Madoc orders a hard turn. The ship is enormous, the iceberg is close, and water does not accept apologies. Titanic turns too slowly and scrapes along the ice. Below the surface, the iceberg opens several sections of the hull. Freezing water begins pouring through the lower compartments. Most passengers feel only a small bump and continue talking. Andrew studies the damage, counts the flooded sections, and understands immediately. 5 compartments are filling, but Titanic can survive only 4. He tells Captain Smith that the ship will sink. The captain orders distress calls, emergency rockets, and the lifeboats prepared. There is one enormous problem. Titanic carries lifeboat space for barely half the people aboard. Even worse, the first boats leave partly empty because nobody believes the ship can sink. Below deck, third-class families meet locked gates and confusing corridors. Meanwhile, Cal secretly places the blue diamond inside Jack's coat pocket. Lovejoy finds it, and Jack is accused of stealing the necklace. Officers handcuff Jack to a pipe in a lower room. Rose initially believes Cal, until Andrews tells her the ship has very little time. She chooses Jack over safety and runs back inside. Rose searches the flooding decks while water climbs higher around her. She finds Jack trapped below and returns with a small emergency axe. Her first swing hits the pipe, which is not encouraging. The next swing breaks the chain, and they escape through freezing corridors. Jack and Rose finally reach the crowded boat deck. Ruth asks whether the lifeboats will be separated by passenger class. Rose stares at her mother and refuses to leave Jack behind. Cal claims he has arranged another boat for himself and Jack. Rose enters a lifeboat, but the ropes begin lowering her away from Jack. She watches his face, understands Cal lied, and makes her choice. Rose jumps from the moving boat back onto Titanic. Jack calls this the stupidest brave thing she could possibly do. Cal chases them through the grand staircase and fires a pistol. He runs out of bullets, then realizes the diamond is still inside his coat. On deck, Cal grabs a lost child and uses her to enter a lifeboat. The bow sinks deeper, the decks tilt, and every remaining object begins sliding. The ship's musicians keep playing because calm is the last gift they can offer. Andrews waits alone, Captain Smith returns to the bridge, and families hold one another. Jack and Rose climb toward the stern as the ocean swallows the front half. Titanic rises, bends, and breaks into 2 enormous pieces. The stern crashes down, rises nearly vertical, and pauses above the black water. Then it plunges, pulling hundreds of people into the freezing sea. The water fills with voices, but most lifeboats remain too far away. By morning, more than 1,500 people will be gone. Jack finds Rose and guides her away from the sinking ship's pull. He discovers a wide floating wooden panel and helps Rose climb on top. The wood cannot safely support them both, so Jack stays in the water. He makes Rose promise to survive, grow old, and never surrender. Jack freezes, and Rose finally has to let his hand go. A returning lifeboat hears Rose whistle and rescues her from the darkness. The Carpathia carries the survivors toward New York beneath a quiet morning sky. Cal searches the crowd, but Rose hides beneath a blanket and never returns to him. When the Statue of Liberty appears, an officer asks Rose for her name. She looks at the life ahead and answers Rose Dawson. Her photographs later show horses, airplanes, travel, children, and every promise she kept. In the present, Brock realizes Rose never cared about helping him find the diamond. That night, Rose walks to the rail and drops the heart of the ocean into the sea. Later, she rests beside her photographs and dreams of Titanic's staircase, where Jack waits and every lost passenger welcomes her home.